My beautiful, blessed souls, back with another word. We are bruised and not broken. Here we are. I want to get into this, is going into June 19th. And we're going to be talking about a stronger faith, along with the last chapter of the book of Ruth. Ruth chapter 4, which is the end of the series, and we're going to go from there into Samson. So now I want to read to you. It's called A Stronger Faith. How can waiting make my faith stronger? God often asks you to wait while leading you along the path of progressive, not immediate victory. Why? Because sometimes this keeps you from the pride that often comes after success. Sometimes it saves you from defeat, and sometimes God makes you wait to prepare you for a special work that He has for you. Waiting is never time wasted by God, so don't waste it by being anxious. Serve God as you wait for Him to accomplish the next good thing in your life. Why? Because waiting is usually a very hard thing for most of us. Deuteronomy 7:22, the Lord your God will drive those nations out ahead of you little by little. You will not clear them away all at once, for if you did, the wild animals will multiply too quickly for you. In John 16:12, he says, oh, there is so much more I want to tell you, but you can't bear it now. In Galatians 4:4, when the right time came, God sent His Son. And in Psalms 37:7, he says, be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for Him to act. Don't worry about evil people who prosper or fret about their wicked schemes. And in times like these, we need to be thankful and paying attention to that. And I just wanted to let you see that. And now we're going to get into it because it's going to tie into what's going on. They had to have strong faith with all of this that's going on in this story because they had to wait, and they had to wait for God to do it for them. Now, Ruth chapter 4, now Boaz had gone up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the Redeemer of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, turn aside, friend, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down, and he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit down here. So they sat down. Then he said to the Redeemer, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, is selling the parcel of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. So I thought I would tell you of it and say, buy it in the presence of those sitting here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not, tell me that I may know, but there is no one besides you to redeem it, and I come after you. And he said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance. Then the Redeemer said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. Now, this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging to confirm a transaction. The one drew of his sandal and gave it to the other. And this was the manner of attesting in Israel. So when the Redeemer said to Boaz, buy it for yourself, he drew off his sandal. Then Boaz said to the elders and all the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belongs to Elimelech and all that belongs to Chilion and Mahlon. Also Ruth and the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brothers and from the gate of his native place. You are witnesses this day. Then all the people who were at the gate and all the elders said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you act worthily in Ephrathah and be renowned in Bethlehem. And may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went into her, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Then the woman said to Naomi, blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be redeemed in all Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her lap and became his nurse. And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, a son has been born to Naomi. They named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Ram. Ram fathered Aminadab. Aminadab fathered Nahshon. Nahshon fathered Salmon. Salmon fathered Boaz. Boaz fathered Obed. Obed fathered Jesse, and Jesse fathered David. So that is the lineage of how, and remember, Christ came later. So what does chapter 4, Ruth chapter 4 mean? When Naomi and Ruth arrived in Bethlehem, they had nothing. Naomi's husband Elimelech was dead, and so were her 2 sons, including Ruth's husband Mahlon. Naomi's hope for Ruth has always been that she would remarry and find rest, meaning security in her place. Meaning, as a woman, we have a man, there's rest. Why? We don't have to do as much because they're supposed to be there to help bear the load for us. And this is why this is so important. Now, Ruth wants Naomi to have an heir for her husband and son after 2 months of gleaning in the fields of the honorable landowner named Boaz. Both women think that they see a solution. Now, Ruth has proposed to Boaz as Naomi wished her to, yet she also boldly asks for a unique condition that Boaz buy Naomi's land and give her an heir. So this child would re-inherit the purchased land under Naomi's husband's name. Boaz was already in awe of Ruth. She forsaken her Moabite family identity and gods to care for Naomi. So now she forsaken her own chance to marry a younger man, whether he was rich or poor, but in love, for the sake of Naomi's comfort and honor. He readily agrees. Now, first, however, Boaz must settle with the closer relative, the next person that is legally entitled to provide an heir for Naomi. He goes to the city gate where he awaits for the man to pass by, and then he asks him to sit down. And this is where the town elders rule and or witness the business and legal transaction. So when Boaz offers the land, the man quickly agrees. But when Boaz challenges him to marry Ruth and give up the land for another man's heir, he demurs, meaning he rejects it. Buying land in the first year after famine has ended is risky enough. If he had to later give it away to a boy who is not his own family, he would risk ruin. Further, the woman in question is from Moab, and could bring dispute to the family. So Boaz and the closer relative complete their legal transactions. The men officially withdraw his claim, and Boaz buy Naomi's land. He announces his marriage to Ruth and declares his intention to provide an heir in the name of Ruth's late husband. The elders and the people gathered to watch the proceedings and swear their witness. They then bless Boaz, Ruth, and their future children. They are impressed with Ruth's kind heart and Boaz's honorable behavior. The crowd compares them to the women and men of the past who made the nation of Israel and the tribe of Judah great. God bless the honorable Boaz and Ruth. He allows Ruth to present Naomi with a son. The women of the city give praise to God and to Ruth. Naomi is content. The narrator reveals that this son, Obed, is more than a long-awaited child and or landowner of Bethlehem. He becomes the grandfather of King David. So, to emphasize the significance of these events, the author presents the genealogy of Israel's great King David. The line begins with Perez, one of the twin sons born after Tamar assumed her legal rights by tricking her father-in-law into a levirate marriage. It passes through Nahshon, the leader of the tribe of Judah, during the Exodus. The 2 generations later is Boaz, who welcomed a levirate marriage with Ruth. And it ends with David, Israel's greatest king for the Jews. This was the miraculous enough for Christian believers today. It proves that Ruth, a Moabite, is an ancestor of Jesus, the Messiah. So now we're going to get into some more commentary and we're going to look at it because we want to look at it. Now in this chapter, we have the wedding between Boaz and Ruth, and in the circumstances of which there was something uncommon, which was kept upon the record for the illustration, not only for the law concerning the marrying of the brother's widow, but for the cases to expound the laws, but of the gospel too, for this marriage to send David and the son of David, who's espoused to the Gentile church, were hereby typified. So we're here told that how Boaz got clear of his rival and fairly shook him off. Now, how his marriage with Ruth was publicly solemnized and attended with all the good wishes of the neighbors. The happy issue was the descendant from this marriage, Obed, the grandfather of David. And so the book concludes with the pedigree of David. Perhaps it was to oblige him that the blessed spirit directed the inserting of the story, that the sacred canon, he being desirous that the virtues of his great grandfather Ruth, together with her Gentile extraction as the singular providences that attended her, should be transmitted to posterity. So we're going to look at it, we're going to break it down, and we're going to find out what all has happened. So this is an in-depth breakdown, and we're going to look at it because not many would have done what Boaz did. As you can see, the other one did not want to do it. It didn't really leave him a lot as far as his own bloodline was concerned as well, his own sons and children to come forth, and I don't see them having any. I don't hear of him having any before and or after. So it just leads us to believe that there was just this one child, but that child was legally, going to have the name of Elimelech. So now we're going to look at this. The key people in this, of course, was Boaz. He was the Redeemer, but we want to see what all this is about because the important thing is the sandal exchange. We want to look at the legal transfer of rights, a symbol of agreement. The land of Naomi, it represents inheritance and restoration. And this is so important because when we think about families and we think about all that God put in place, this is what this was about. It was providing and protecting the children, the lineage up to 3 and 4 generations later. So, and this is why it says in the word that if you are, a good husband, father, a good man, a godly man, you would leave an inheritance for your children up until the 3rd and 4th generations. But we don't see that. And there's a reason. There's issues with this. One, we don't see, we have, one, folks are not married. Two, there's a lot of transgenderism. There's a lot of adultery. There's a lot of fornication. There's a lot of abuse. There's all of these things that are involved now. And there's a lot of broken homes. And because of that, the finances are there. On top of that, there's nothing left for the children because usually the single mom or whoever is taking care of the child is struggling. So this is why, because this was never supposed to be. So when we're looking at this, we have to understand God's way of providing. And this was his way for providing for the women, also to keep the bloodlines going and to have an inheritance, meaning finances for them to continue on in life. So when we're looking at this, even when it comes to the government, when it comes to, the churches, that we're supposed to have these things put in place. And God has provision for those who do not have, or to make sure that they're going to be provided for. So this is the land of Naomi, represents inheritance and restoration. The marriage is covenant. It is the restoration of the family line. Why this was so important. It was not just about the money. It was about the family, the bloodline continuing on. Why? Because that family line would have died out. There was no males. There was no heirs. Nothing was going to transfer. The women wouldn't have any money. There wouldn't be anything for them. So lineage and genealogy from Ruth, Perez, Hezron, Ram, Aminadab, Nahshon, Salmon, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, and David. This connects Ruth to King David, ultimately to Jesus Christ. Now, also the meaning, this is a multi-dimensional breakdown. We're going to look at their mindset mentally. Decision making under law and in integrity. Boaz models wisdom and strategic action. The closer redeemer shows fear-driven thinking, meaning cost calling, meaning he didn't want to do it because it was going to cost him a lot. The theme is the right thinking aligns with purpose and not just profit. And when we look at the way the world is set up, a lot of times this wouldn't even happen anymore because not too many people is going to do this. You see what I'm saying? Boaz didn't have a whole lot to gain outside of marrying them. He did it because of love, because of covenant, because of whatever, to make things right. And that is very honorable. Emotionally, Naomi moves from emptiness to fulfillment. Ruth experiences belonging and security, and community celebrates restoration. The theme is God restores joy where there was grief. And he cared about this. Why? Because all this time, these women was going through all of this loss. Okay, all of this loss, from losing the husbands to losing the finances to not being covered to not having no one take care of them. And so God made provision for them. This is a blessing. This is what he does. Why? Because he's always caring for his children, for his men, women, children. It doesn't matter. He's caring for them. Physical body and actions. Boaz takes real world actions and goes to gate and speaks publicly. Redemption requires visible, practical effort, meaning faith must be acted out physically. Now, when we talk about this from the faith, he had faith that things are going to turn out right. He even had faith even in going to, speak to the other man about it. Why? Because knowing that 9 times out of 10 this man was not going to be vested as he was. He had already met them. He had already seen how she was working, and he wanted to help them, because this is what he was doing. He was giving them wheat, giving them barley to keep them sustained, because if nothing else, if that was all he could do, even when he thought that maybe he wasn't going to be able to marry her, that the other one would, he told her if he doesn't marry her, it wasn't about him and his selfish gain, because he knew the sincerity and the emergency of it was to make sure that those women were going to be provided for and taken care of. It wasn't about him. You see what I'm saying? He didn't make it about him. And in this day and age, in this world that we live in, these men are not acting like men. They want women to take care of them. That is not a woman's role. That is not a woman's job. So now, spiritually, God's plan. Boaz is a type of Christ Redeemer. He's willing, he's able. He publicly confirms the redemption. Ruth represents the outsider that was brought into covenant. And when we look at this and we wonder why God allowed it, it was one, because she was a Moabite. That God did redeem her. He did, allow her to come in, because she renounced all of her old gods and the way of living. She changed and she came over to this side, which is the godly side. So that was the witchcraft and the sorcery that they were performing. And she stopped doing all of that. She came to this side, and look what happened. God honored her, and he made her situation better, than it would have been. Now, just look at Orpah. Orpah went back. We don't hear any more about Orpah. She's probably back there worshiping those gods, and who knows if she got married again or not. You see what I'm saying? Or became a concubine. Now, the theme is God redeems individuals in his covenant family. Because she became part of the covenant, this is why he did it. Time decisions. This is past. Naomi's lost her husband and her sons. Ruth's loyalty begins in hardship, famine, and exile. The lesson is pain sets the stage for redemption. The present chapter for legal transaction completed. We're going to talk about that because it was the sandal. Marriage established. A child is born. Community witness blessing. The lesson is obedience leads to visible breakthrough. The future is the birth of King David's line. The messianic prophecy is unfolding. Global redemption. The story is being expanded. The lesson here is our present obedient affects generations, meaning further down the line what's going to come. The core themes of this is redemption, covenant faithfulness, divine providence, restoration, inclusion, outsider and insider. Deep insight, the big picture, because they knew it was about the big picture. And when we talk about families and sticking together and making sure everyone is straight, we don't see we see individualism. We see all of these things that is not, and we're going to get into that. Hold on. Deep insight, big picture, the unnamed redeemer, those who chose comfort over calling. Boaz, those who step in responsibility and destiny. He came and redeemed stuff that it wasn't his children, it wasn't his wife, but it didn't matter. Ruth, those who trust and follow without entitlement. Naomi, those who experience restoration and bitterness, after bitterness. Life application. Redemption requires willingness, sacrifice, public commitment. God can use loss, legacy, strangers, and family, ordinary actions, and eternal outcomes to make things come about. Ruth 4 shows how God transformed loss into legacy through faithful redemption, resulting in generational blessing that leads to King David and ultimately to Christ. Now, when we look at their faith, they had to have stronger faith. Why? Because without it, it would not. They didn't just believe. Boaz didn't just, feel responsible. He went and actually put forth work. Faith without works is dead. He went to the gate and handled business. So faith grows when you move, not when you wait. Meaning you wait in the faith and you are still working. You do the hard conversations. You take the next step, even if it's uncomfortable. You handle what God already put in front of you. Choose purpose over comfort. The clothes of Redeemer backed out because it might hurt his inheritance. Stronger faith says, I'll obey even if it costs me. Applying. Stop picking the easy way out if it's not the right way. Say yes to responsibility and not escape. This is what we have to do. Commit publicly. Boaz made his commitment in front of witnesses. Faith strengthened with accountability and boldness. Apply. Speak your commitments out loud. Let people see your integrity, not just hear about it. Trust God's bigger plan. Ruth had no idea that she'd be the line of David. Strong faith is believes that this small step matters, even if I don't see how now. Application. Be careful. Be faithful, in small, ordinary moments. Stop thinking that your life is insignificant. Keep going after loss. Naomi went from empty to restored. Stronger faith is not avoiding pain, it's continuing through it. Applications. Don't let past disappointment shut you down. Stay open to restoration. Thinking generationally. Obed wasn't just a child, he was a legacy. Strong faith asks, what am I building beyond me? Application. Build habits, characters, and decisions that outlive you. Make choices for your future self and future families that they can benefit from. Daily, with strong faith mindset, say to yourself, I act on what I know is right. I choose purpose over comfort. I trust God even when I don't see everything. I stay faithful through pressure. What I do today matters for tomorrow. Simple daily practices in real growth. Do these things daily. One action of obedience, even if it's small. Text decisions, discipline, one moment of trust, release control of something that is stressing you, and one step of courage, face something you've been avoiding. Now, what I wanted to look at was the sandal. Hands. Head. Hold on, I wanted to find out that. And so I wanted to know the sandal thing. I wanted to know, a lot of what went on. So the sandal is a shoe. It means authority, ownership, and legal transfer. So the sandal exchange equaled the transfer of the rights. This is how they did it. It was readiness and preparation. The feet shod with peace, Ephesians 6:15. Spiritual ideas, walking into responsibility, taking or giving up authority. Modern meaning when it comes to church leadership roles, transferred ordination and appointments, readiness to serve, government contracts, legal agreements, transfer authority and property, respect for boundaries and roles, respect for accepted decline. Families taking responsibility mean parent, provider, protector. Similarly, still about responsibility and authority transfer. The differences, then it's a symbolic act, and now it's a legal document and formal process. When it comes to your hands, biblical meaning is power, work, blessing, and impartation. Laying of hands, transfer of hands, healing and authority is blessing. Spiritual idea, what you build, touch, and influence. Modern meaning is church, prayer, blessing, ordination. Government, signing laws, enforcing rules, control of systems. Community is helping others, service, labor, care, discipline, and support. Similarly, hands still represent action and influence. The difference is then more visibly is tied to spiritual rituals, and now it's spread across practical actions and systems. Your feet, biblical meaning, direction, walk, lifestyle. Where your feet go, equals your life path. Spiritual idea, daily choices and direction in life. Modern meaning, church, walking in faith, lifestyle, consistency. Government is policy and direction where a nation is headed. Government is movement of culture and influence. Family is life directions, values passed down. Similarities is still about direction and journey. The differences, then it was literal walking journey. Now it's a symbolic of life and decisions of path. Your head, biblical meaning, authority, leadership, and covering. Christ equals the head of the church. The spiritual idea is leadership, control, and decision making. Modern meaning is the church, pastor, leadership, authority, Christ-centered guidance. In government, it will be presidents, leaders, and heads of state. Community is influencers and organizers. Families as head of household is the decision maker, the protector. Similarity still represents authority and leadership. Differences then is more clearly and defined hierarchy. Now is more shared and or challenged authority structures. We see that. Movement, meaning walking, going, acting. Biblical meaning obedience and action. Faith is proven by movement. Ruth going, Boaz acting. Spiritual ideas, progress, obedience, and response to God. The modern meaning of this in the church is outreach, missions, growth, action beyond words. Government, policy, change, and reform, and social movement. Community is activism, service, and change. Families, that will be growth, change, and generational movement forward. Similarity is the movement still equals progress and action. The difference is the physical journeys were primary. Now they include mental, digital, and social movement. So it's different. Big connections. The sandal, was authority transfer. We saw that. Okay. So now the deep spiritual meaning. When you wear the sandals, you accept responsibility. When you use your hands, you act, build, and bless. Your feet shows your direction, not your words. Your head reflects who leads your life. Your movement proves your faith. Now, today's application in real life, don't just believe, move your feet. Don't just plan, act with your hands. Don't avoid responsibility. Wear the sandal. Don't follow confusion. Align your head, meaning your leadership. Keep progressing and stay moving. Hold on, give me 1 second. Who is this? I had a few more questions. Oh, hold on. Okay. So I wanted to know the differences between the past and the present of a lot of different things. And I'm waiting on it to load because I have some questions and I just wanted to know about it. Oh, I'm doing a video.
Video, right?
Yeah. So we're going to look at what the world, when it comes to family, marriage, inheritance, all these things now, because we want to look at these things. And hold on. Wait. Okay, so now, hold on, let me see. Did it add it? Okay, it isn't adding it. I'm hoping that it's gonna add it. Give me 1 second, I gotta fix it. because I wanted to add something. I just added it. Okay, because we want to compare, because we don't see a lot of the way things play out now is just not what they used to be. So we're gonna compare all of these things between now and back then, because as we could see back then, things were actually respected, but they're not anymore. So I wanted to look at marriage, family, inheritance, loyalty, covenants, honor, all these things, obedience, respect, and a now thing, meaning what does that look like for us now? Because we know it's not what it is. So marriage, they looked at as a covenant, not as just a contract. That's what the difference is to now. Family was a foundation of identity and support, but it is not anymore. Children were blessings and legacies and continuation. It's not anymore. That's why we see the abortion rate so high. Inheritance and passing down land, values, and name were important. It's not anymore. Loyalty, faithfulness, even when it's hard, meaning like Ruth, it's not. Covenant, binding promises before God, it's not. Honor, value, others above self, it's not. Obedience, alignment with God's will, it's not. Respecter, order, dignity, and peaceful relationships is not. In the Bible, all these things are connected and sacred. They're not optional. But see, as we can see, life impact then and now is what I wanted to see. And this is the question that I asked because I wanted to know. And I wanted to do the comparison so we could look at what Ruth and Boaz look like today in this day and age, because we don't see it. And so mentally, then there were clear roles and expectations. This reduced a lot of confusion, right? Because identity is tied to family and God. But now there's more freedom, but more confusion about roles and purpose. This is our issue and problems. Similarity, people still need direction and identity. The difference now and then is there's more self-defined versus God and family defined, like we were talking about, because it's more self-centered. It's not we and us, it's I and me. Now emotionally, the hearts, then they were loyal and covenant, created security and belonging, but now it's emotional fulfillment. It's often prioritized over commitment. This is why I was talking about the emotional, the fantasies and all of that, because it's not necessarily biblical and covenantal. No, this is at the drop of your emotions. It changes all the time. Similarities, everyone desires love and stability. The difference then and now is commitment first, used to be, but it's feelings first now. So it's like marriage is not about commitment anymore. It's about feelings, because they have, made it that way. It's not originally supposed to be that way. So the physical actions of living. Then marriage and family were necessary for survival, work, and protection. But now independence allows people to live alone. Similarity, family still provides support and care. Differences now is there's less dependence on family and structure. Financial resources, then inheritance equal land, survival, and generational wealth. Marriage often tied to economic stability, but now finances are individual. Inheritance is less central in daily life. People don't care about it. Similarities are wealth still passes through generations, but the difference then and now is family survival systems is different now. It's personal. It's not even a corporate thing. Spiritual relationship with God then was covenantal relationship, reflected God's covenant with people, but now spiritually often separate from marriage and family. And similarity is God still values covenant, loyalty, and obedience. The difference is less emphasis on spiritual commitment in relationships today. Of course, everyone's looking at the exterior. They're not looking at the interior or the spirit, the soul. They're looking at everything else. Hold on one second.
Sweetie, can you key me into my door?
Oh, hold on, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
I need you to come key in, I think it's 903. You got me?
Should I just go up by my door?
Yeah, you can. Can you come key in 903? She's down here waiting. Okay, sorry about that. He's coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now, I apologize for that. So the key principles explain marriage then was lifelong covenant, community based. Now it's often based on compatibility and personal fulfillment. 903, I believe, yeah. She went upstairs. So now, key principles explain marriage, lifelong covenant then, community based. But now it's often based on compatibility and personal fulfillment. The truth is, strong marriage equals commitment and purpose, not just feelings. This is why most of them do not last. They're based on looks, they're based on feelings, emotions, they're based on things that are fickle, things that do not last, things that change from day to day. Because you could be in love with one person one day, so you claim, but it's not really love, that's infatuation. And, 1 minute and then the next minute you're not. So, family, then it was central, to identity, survival, and legacy, but now it's more diverse and flexible structure. Truth is, healthy family still builds stability and direction, but you see the family dynamic is completely changed. It used to be the main focus was family, but it's not. Everything we do is for family, but it's not. Children then were seen as a blessing and a future security, but now sometimes it's seen as a burden and or optional, and this is true. The truth is, children shape future generations. So this is why, depending on how your life has been, and they talk about how single parent households, a lot goes on, because a lot of times it is seen as a burden, not to say it like that, but it's the more children you have, the harder life is if you are by yourself and struggling. So inheritance, then was land, name, legacy, preserved. Now it's money, values, mindset, and opportunities, which a lot of times there's not a lot being passed down. And that's because if you have single parent households, they're barely making it, let alone able to save. So this is a problem. Truth is, what we pass down matters. Yes, loyalty and covenant then was non-negotiables. Ruth stayed with Naomi, now often replaced by convenience. So it's not about loyalty and covenant. Truth is, loyalty creates strong, lasting relationships, but a lot we don't see that, because loyalty is not going to be you get with someone and then they change up on you halfway down and then go get with someone else and destroy your life. That's not loyalty. So everyone wants these things, but they're not bringing these things to the table. This is the problem. Why? Because they're looking at the outer aesthetics, and that's the issue. That doesn't last. People get old, they get fat, they grow hair, they get gray. This is the normal cycles of life. But if we cannot accept and love one another in spite of that, that is going to be a problem. Because if it's all about the outer appearance and not about the inner soul, spirit as a person, that's a problem. Because you're not going to look young the rest of your life. Everyone is going to get old eventually. The older, and that's the natural cycle of life. You're supposed to get old. I'm not supposed to look like I did in my 20s because I'm going to be 47. I'm not supposed to be in competition with the little young girls. I had my time. When I was young, I ran around like they did. I'm older now. I'm not supposed to be doing the things that they're doing. Honor, obedience, and respect. Then it was structured, authority, and order. Now it's more equality but less consistency. Thank you. Truth is, without honor and respect, relationships weaken. And that's because usually it's only about, the surface level things anyway. Big comparison in areas. Marriage was biblical covenant. But now it's often contract and choice. Family was central identity then, but now it's one part of life. It may be. Children, blessing, legacy, now it's optional. Inheritance, survival, and legacy, financial opportunities is all they see now. Loyalty is expected, was expected back then, now it's conditional. Covenant was sacred, it's rarely emphasized now. Honor and respect was structured, but now it's more individualistic. Deep truth is, life was built around commitment, community, and God then. But life now is built around choice, independence, and self, because usually that's what it is. Everybody's just so selfish. The men want men and women. It's all about them. It's not about the kids and the wife and the family and building and growing. No, it's about him, his sexual needs, his sexual desires. The heck with the women, that builds the children. No, this is not being able to have self-control. Modern day takeaway: to build a strong life today and to combine both. Keep modern strengths, awareness, growth, and flexibility, but restore biblical strengths, commitment, loyalty, honor, and purpose. Simple life application: choose commitment over convenience. Build relationships that last, not just feel good, especially for the moment. Focus on legacy, not just the moment. Respect, structure, and responsibility. Pass down values, not just money. One line summary: strong lives and families are built when commitment, loyalty, honor, and covenant are valued more than feelings, convenience, and temporary gain. Core idea, big picture. We're going to expand it because we want to look at also the churches, the communities, the culture, all of these things, because they play a big part in this. Core idea, the big picture: marriage, family, children, inheritance, loyalty, covenant, honor, obedience, respect are not just personal values. They shape families, churches, governments, and communities. Now, when these are strong, society is strong. When these break down, everything weakens. How this plays out in each area. The family foundational level: the biblical is structured. The roles, meaning parents lead, children learn. Strong loyalty and obedience. Inheritance passed down, name, land, and values. Now it's more flexible roles, less emphasis on obedience and authority. Values are often very to house. Similarities: love, support, and need for stability, but the difference then equals structure and now equals freedom. And sometimes, a lot of times, it's confusion. The impact is, back then, strong families, stable minds, emotions, and direction. Weak families have confusion, instability, identity struggles, and this is what this is about. Now, in churches, the spiritual system then versus now. We're going to look at it then. It was covenant-centered community, strong teaching on obedience, honor, commitment. Leadership was respected and followed, but now more diverse beliefs and styles. Some focus more on inspiration and discipline. Authority sometimes questioned and or minimized. Similarities is it's still a place of guidance and faith. The difference then and now is the commitment is focused, and now it's often comfort focused. The impact was strong church values, spiritual growth, and accountability, but weak structure and shallow faith and inconsistency. Now, with government and authority systems, then it was leadership seen as God ordained, laws often tied to moral and covenant principles, honor and obedience was expected. But now, separation of religion and government. Laws based on social agreement, not always moral absolutes. Authority is often questioned and or resisted. Similarities is need for order and law and leadership, but the difference for then is moral covenant based. Now it equals a legal social system. The impact is strong values and justice and stability, or weak values with corruption, disorder, and mistrust. This is what is going on. Community-wise, social environments, then it was tight-knit, interdependent, shared values, and accountability. Loyalty and reputation matter deeply. Now it's more independent, diversity, less accountability between people. Digital connections replace physical community and connections. Like, this is what this is. Similarities is people still need belonging. The difference is then it was collective and now it's individualistic. The impact is strong communities is safety and support, unity. Weak communities, isolation and division. And we see it with everything. We see it mentally, full life impact. Then it was clear roles, clarity of identity. Now it's freedom, which equals choice, but confusion. Strong values and equals clear thinking. Emotionally is then it was loyalty equals security. Now it's feelings lead decisions. Strong commitment equals emotional stability. Physically, then family and community sustain survival. Now independence reduces physical reliance. Still, we function better in a support system. Financially, then inheritance and family and wealth with stability. Now individual income, but generational gaps. Families still shape financial futures, but it's not a lot of wealth being passed down. Everyone's I and me and not us and we. Spiritually, then it was God-centered and covenant life. Now it's often separated from daily decisions. Strong spiritual base equals strong overall life. The key themes across all of these systems: covenant versus convenience. Then it was I'm committed no matter what. Now it says I stay if it benefits me. So this is what this is. The result is less stability today. Honor is versus individual control. Then it was respect, authority, and structure. Now it is question everything. The results is more freedom but less order. Loyalty versus flexibility. Then it was stand firm. Now is adapt quickly. The results is it's harder to build lasting relationships. Of course. Inheritance versus independence. Then it was built for future generations. Now it is focused on personal success. Yeah. The results is weaker long-term legacy thinking. Similarities: what hasn't changed across all areas. People still need love, structure, purpose, stability, and belonging. The thing is, human needs are the same, but the system has changed. Exactly. The big difference is then life was designed around responsibility, covenant, and community. Now life is designed more around choice, independence, and self-direction. Modern day wisdom is balance. To succeed today, you have to keep modern strengths, which are critical thinking, a growth mindset, and independence. Restore timeless principles such as commitment, marriage, family, church, respect, authority, and structure, loyalty, relationships, legacy thinking, and future generations. Real life truth about these things is strong families equal strong communities equal strong churches, strong churches equal strong values equal strong government. Everything is connected. Final summary: marriage, family, children, inheritance, loyalty, covenant, honor, obedience, and respect are the core building blocks of every system, especially family, church, government, and community. But when these things are strong, life is stable. But when they weaken, there's confusion and instability to grow. So this I mean, the proof is in the pudding. So when we look at these things, it makes a lot of sense. We don't see a lot of stuff going on as far as the family unit nowadays. You see a lot of breakdowns, and we see why. We're looking at it, and we see why. But culture has taught us, when it comes to marriage and stuff, that it's more about the feeling and the emotional. This is why we get the fantasy. Folks are living the fantasy instead of the reality of what a marriage and family and children and life is about. It's not going to be about good times all the time, just like life isn't going to be about good times. The fantasy of it is thinking that it will always be a smooth ride, and people want to jump ship as soon as things get rough, and that is the problem. You're only as strong as whatever you're going through, because if you can't sustain anything, you can't have relationship, you can't have family, you can't have legacy, you can't have inheritance, you can't leave anything lasting, because you're gonna have to go through things and sustain, meaning your roots is planted, and not move, and go through it and weather it together. This is what we need to be seeing. And that's what anything, whether it's work, whether it's whatever we're dealing with and going through in life, whenever that is happening, it's going to take commitment. It's going to take, everyday boring things that you're going to have to consistently do to get whatever it is you're trying to get out of life. And everybody think life is going to be a party and it's going to be wonderful and turned up all the time. And it's not the reality of it. Getting married, having children, it's a lot of boring, regular days. I mean, that's just life. But folks don't know how to do that. So this is why they don't last. This is why it's always something, and then it's promoted. Culture promotes it. The drama, the this, the can't be without it. They don't promote simple, regular, everyday things that mean so much and are priceless compared to the dysfunction we're seeing going on. So, I hope that this word was a blessing. Like I said, this is more than just about Ruth and Boaz. They're showing us the blueprint of what it looked like to really, have commitment, have covenant, have, loyalty and trust and all of these things, have stability, have balance, have security, have inheritance, have growth, have family, all these things to create communities that are going to be strong, values that are strong, to pass on these things that are going to be helpful to us and our families instead of the dysfunction that only destroys us. So I hope that this word was a blessing to you guys, because it was to me. And having stronger faith is what we're going to have to do, because God can turn all of these things around, but we have to be willing and able and participants in our own, situations, instead of being into our demise. Be for the change and make things better in our own lives and in others. So I will show you this stronger faith. We are bruised and not broken. This is Ruth chapter 4. It is the final chapter in the Ruth and Boaz legacy. And it does end on a beautiful, wonderful note where they go down a lineage, they have the child, everything is put back in place what needs to be, they're redeemed. And God is good. He took it all and he used it. Now we're going to be going into, I believe, Samuel. And this is going to be a book. Yes, we know it. So like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoyed this word. It was a blessing to me, and I hope that it was a blessing to you. We have to take a look at all the things that are going on in this world. Like I said, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I think my Cash App is in the bio link. And be blessed in Jesus' name. And until the next one, amen.